All right, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take these little tobacco seedlings that I've started that are just tiny little sprouts. We're gonna put them in these trays. I'm gonna transfer them out just a little bit at a time. I'm gonna cut them up and I'm gonna fill this tray, etc., and lay them in. So here's some soil right here. You're gonna watch me while I chat about what we're doing here. So these are, if you remember, the tobacco seeds that I harvested from the tobacco I grew in my backyard. Just probably around 8 plants. And then once they were ready to go, I went out and just tipped over the little cones that had the tobacco in them. You'll also notice I'm not going to fill these trays, these cells, all the way to the top. What I'm going to do is pull this up in a minute, the mat of soil that has the tobacco sprouts in it, and then I'm going to break those up gently. I'm doing this in a greenhouse. You can do this outside, etc. Just make sure. I'm going to have to be careful to transition these to harden them off correctly. So transition them from inside to outside. This all happened. Here's the lid of my rotisserie chicken. So this all happened on the windowsill in my bedroom, I believe. So anyway, that's pretty good. I've got a couple of tools that I gathered up before I started this. This is just an old seed tray label. This was tomatoes. And then this is just a pocket knife. So that's kind of what I'm going to do to help transition these things out. We'll see how this goes. I've done this before. See, we've got the roots on the bottom there. That's a good sign. But these little guys are definitely ready to root some more and to spread. So I did this last year and it worked pretty well. But it's pretty dicey, and you also can't be too timid about it. We'll see how they go. I'm still not above or beyond, I guess, pruning some of these. So that means that I'm not really afraid to get my hands a little bit more involved, and then I can come back and thin these out later, just to let them go. But yeah, I might go grab a different tool, but we'll see how this goes. They are so small. It's kind of a game of just gritting your teeth and letting them sort themselves out a little bit too. The rest of my plan, once I get these broken up and put in here, and like I said, I've done this before, so if it looks like none of them are going to survive, they're still pretty hardy, even though they are so very, very tiny. A lot of that is just how you treat this tray afterwards. So this variety is actually called Native American tobacco, and it's funny, it has a very high, supposedly has a very high nicotine percentage or concentration. That being said, I still get not plenty, but definitely some insects come in and nibble on my tobacco. I've got I think it's a snail eating my tobacco that came back. That's another interesting thing about this variety. One of the plants that I actually got some of these seeds off of still survived the freeze. We had a 17-degree freeze here, which is not super typical for this part of the country, but I came back out and some odd things. And this is, granted, this is next to a house, my house, but I came back outside a few weeks later and I had tobacco survive and come back from the roots. Just that one plant. The others didn't make it, and they weren't really, I wasn't expecting them to. And then I had, and this was the really weird, I had 4 eggplant plants survive that freeze and come back from the roots. So they are getting watered, but I don't even know what to expect. I think part of it is I didn't get any fruit off of them because I got them in late last year, and we had a dry, a very hot, dry late summer, and so they didn't get a chance to reproduce. So maybe that's why they still are so hardy or so dedicated. but we'll see. These things are so tiny. Like I said, if I hadn't done this before, I'd have my doubts as to whether or not these would actually make it. But we'll just work quickly. I'm in a pretty hot greenhouse right now, so it's hot and humid, however, so it's not that bad for them. And we'll see how they do. The other term for this is called pricking out. This is what happens when you just broadcast, or this was broadcast, but you could also dig a little trench or seed with a traditional seeder or seed in rows, a dibble, etc. And then you come back and move the individual seedlings to individual cells like this. I think what I'm going to do with the rest of the tray is start some more seeds directly in there and see if I can get them to germinate and come up just in the tray. I don't necessarily have the ideal sized hands and fingers for this, but I don't know, something fun about growing a plant with this much tradition and history, so I'm always thrilled when they come up. Let's see, just teeny, teeny, tiny. Let's see, these little guys can go here. Okay, I'm back. Here are my tobacco seeds. Again, you can see these are basically just a dust. Very, very fine. So I'm going to level this soil out over here. Here's my line. Grab a pinch more for this corner cell. There we go. That's going to settle when it gets watered some more as well. All right. Starting here. Wow, so many seeds. Even after I've done this a few times, I still can't really tell what their germination rate is. Like how out of every 100 seeds, how many will germinate and how many won't. It's fascinating. Anyway, all right, that's it. Water these in, and then I'll get creative with some sort of way to keep the humidity very high here for the germination, and then not quite as high for these, although I don't think it'll hurt them right now. So when you're making those chambers like that, something that's very humid, make sure you don't let too much sun hit it. That's the worry, is that if, for example, I flip over a plastic tub or something here, what could really honestly happen is that it will overheat. It's like the greenhouse effect is real, so it just keeps soaking up more energy from the sun and there's nowhere for it to go. So you just kind of be like steaming them in a bag in the microwave or something like that. As far as making sure that these seedlings are situated, part of the goal is that their leaves are visible to me. That means that when the sun shines on them, they'll get sunlight. And it also means that if they're not making contact with something, there's less vector for, let's say, a fungus or something like that to get in there and eat them. So disease might not be quite so bad. Anyway, just make sure they're all pointed the right way up. Green, shiny side up, I guess. I still haven't really looked into the process that folks use to grow tobacco commercially. It's kind of fascinating to me with seeds this tiny. I'm sure we can figure it out, but I bet there's several layers of commercial scale equipment to get this done. All right. be back with some sort of situation to help these stay humid and germinate. And we're back. Okay, so here's my solution. This is a Sterilite, whatever. I'm just gonna cover these. Now this is just for demonstration in here. I'm not gonna leave them in this greenhouse because they'd cook, but that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put them on a table in the house where they may or may not get a lot of sun. Like I said, I don't wanna overdo it. And now if this doesn't work, I'll also use the bottom. I have the lid to this, so I would just set the lid underneath this and then flip this over. I like this because now there's room for this to grow if it needs to. And also if there is something in here that's more sensitive to fungus, even if I do get condensation on the ceiling or on the top, on the inside of this, it will have a chance to run down and run down the sides instead of just accumulating on the plants. It's not perfect, as you can see. Pull this up. It's not a perfect drip pan. There will still get some drips here in the corners, but it's pretty good for just something that you go probably have in your garage that you can use to start making a healing chamber or a humidity chamber for things that are like this that are somewhat tropical. Anyway, I'll update you. And in case you were wondering what else works as a humidity tent or a humidity grow space, this is just the bottom of a Tupperware cereal container. And there's some peach cuttings that I'm letting root. We'll see if they take, but this is just something that restricts airflow and still lets a little bit of light in, and that'll work.